Hola, I'm Joe Pardavila, and this is a special edition of the Great Digital Transformation Workforce 4.0 with Gerard Szatvanyi. Jerry, how are you?
Good. I'm very excited to be here. Quite a journey in the past year, and it's this all AI craziness happening. It's been quite a transformation.
Yeah, totally. And so let's start with that transformation because, the scope of this program has always been around digital transformation. But obviously, like you said, AI has been to the forefront of this. So why is it important to get into this topic of Workforce 4.0 right now?
Well, imagine a future where labor will be infinite and where energy will be infinite. Where does that take you? And what are the possibilities? And that future is starting to happen now more and more. Everything that's coming out is making that possible. It's taking us one step further. So it's amazing what's just to imagine the possibilities. Just to imagine where could we go with all of this. And we work with customers that now they start, wow, this is something that's coming, and let's reimagine our business. So yeah, that's the topic.
All right, and Jerry, joining us today will be a couple of very fine, intelligent individuals. First up is Sean Catlin, who is a VP and GM at Global Financial Services at OSF. Sean, how are you?
Joe, I'm incredible today. Thank you.
Good. And before we bring our last guest, I want to ask, you work intimately with Gerard Szatvanyi. What's he like in real life? I think people know he's this very mysterious globetrotter. I mean, he could be a spy for all we know, Sean, but what is your relationship like? And tell us about that. Tell us about that dynamic.
So everything you hear and everything you see is true. He's an incredible futurist. Customers love him. We all love him at OSF, and he's a great leader.
And finally, we have Simon Mulcahy. He's a former CMO and Chief Innovation Officer at Salesforce. Hey, Simon, welcome to the show.
Hey, Joe. Thanks very much for having me.
So I got to ask, what's your relationship to Jerry? How long have you known him? Is he as fascinating and as amazing as Sean says he is?
Well, I've known Joe for a long time now. Joe's a fascinating man with a lot of. He's got a very eclectic background, and he's traveled. He speaks multiple languages. He's actually very multifaceted. All the rumors about him and the bank heist and all that stuff, not true though.
Yeah, there was something going on before this call that Simon and I were concerned about, that Jerry was in the middle of something, but it turns out it's not true. So Simon, let's start things off with you because we're going to focus in on sort of the Workforce 4.0 and agents. Everybody's talking about agents. Is it real or is it hype?
Oh, for sure, it's real. It's been real for quite some time. I think it's real in the sense of the technology has been out and has been proven and is having a dramatic impact in many parts of our life and the business world. It may not be real in everybody's head. There's still a lot of people who are choosing to avoid it or wait for longer, I think, and for them. It's perhaps not real, but it certainly will be soon when it disrupts their business completely.
And Jerry, we talk about that a lot, about people who wait. And Jerry, you're not fond of waiting. You, as we've already stated, you keep moving. To piggyback on Simon's thought, it's about like get going when it comes to this stuff.
Well, there is a lot that you can do nowadays, and I've been bumping into an AI just yesterday that, you know what it does? It filters your accent. If you want to change your accent, the way you speak and everything, it completely changes. It's amazing. And it's a use case that I would have never thought of, but apparently is something that, especially in call centers, can help very much. And not just necessarily because you're coming from a different culture or whatnot, but even like within the US, you can make someone living in the South sound like a New Yorker, and that's quite interesting, and imagine the possibilities and what it can do. And so yeah, why wait? Why wait? There are so many things that you can think.
I've got the same accent as Joe. I just
Yeah.
changed it up for the American market.
Simon is from the Jersey Shore, if clearly. Sean, you want to weigh on agents and the future of agents?
Well, yeah, Joe. I mean, I had the pleasure and the luxury of working with Simon for 8-9 years at Salesforce, and we used to talk about digital transformation and how half of the customers probably wouldn't exist in the next few years if they didn't really transform. But yet, how many of them really did do it properly? Now, this new agent capability, everybody is dabbling and trying with it now, because actually, if they don't, to Simon's point, they're going to be completely disrupted, and the businesses probably won't survive the next few years.
Cool. And Simon, this is about workforce. The beginning of our conversation here. How much impact are these agents going to have in the future of workforce? I mean, you're hearing these big time CEOs, the Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, saying that they basically won't have half as many coders in the future because AI will handle coding. Tell me about how you think these agents will affect the future of workforce.
They're going to affect the future of every part of the workforce. We use the word agent today. It was pulled from customer service agent, and we just applied it and we sort of lazily left it there. But we're going to have AI middle management, AI program management, AI business analysts, AI HR experts, AI, et cetera, et cetera. Every corner of the corporation is going to be fundamentally augmented by AI, but it's going to lead to a lot of change. If you think of the world of work today, about 2/3 of all work today is still done in email, in spreadsheets, and around core systems by humans. And you can deploy as much software as you want today, but it's kind of like hands trying to squeeze a balloon. The harder you squeeze, the more software, the more that work just pops out between your fingers. And that's all the human stuff. A lot of that is going to be is needless. It's just repetitive, standard, basic work that will just get mopped up by AI agents. But that's only the first step. It's going to continue, and AI is going to become way more effective in its ability to manage multiple workflows. And that's going to lead to not just us taking AI and sprinkling it over our existing businesses. We're going to have to start reimagining our businesses for a world that's AI first, where humans play a very, very important role, but a very different role.
Simon raised a great point about leaders. We got invited down here by the COO of the bank, and he's a great leader. He's embraced the vision for AI and the impact it could have with his business. He's then set up a whole AI week with us and 3 of his key business units. And we sat through an incredible session today with one of those business units. And that leader stood up and said, look, we've got to embrace this incredible capability that's coming along, because one, if we don't, we're going to be disrupted by it for our other competitors using it. Second thing he said was, I don't fear that this thing is going to get rid of your job or get rid of the job of your friends in the bank. Actually, what it's going to do is it's going to empower us more to bring more workload back into our organization and to delight our customers and deliver incredible outcomes. So I think that the point that you raise around leadership is that I think in this current climate, the very best leaders are going to rise from the top and take the initiative.
Nice. And a lot of that's going to take the mindset of leaders and organizations in terms of, and you kind of hinted earlier about, Simon, that, some people, there's this idea that people are going to lose jobs, but as you say, there could be more jobs created from this. But that idea of the cold hard truth of it, initially, some people may lose jobs. I mean, here in the United States, we're seeing what Elon Musk and Doge is doing when it comes to jobs. We're not going to get into that here, but in terms of just to get stuff done, sometimes you have to, rustle a couple of feathers. So tell us about this sort of in between, because Simon, I think you've painted a great picture of what the future will look like down the road. But right now, it's kind of that moment of discomfort for a lot of people.
Maybe the best way of describing it here is to think of it as kind of a learning crisis. For whatever reason, people in their private lives or businesses themselves have slowed down their learning, and they've been comfortable monetizing or doing with the knowledge that they have. Perhaps they learned that at school or in college or whatever, but they haven't kept on learning, which meant that they've gone into a job that today is probably, if they haven't been kept on learning, they're probably a job that's got a lot of repetitive tasks because it's already a lot of it's being automated. That's just going to continue. So if you're not learning, then you are effectively having your job eroded slowly or maybe even quickly by technologies that come in and take, hey, that's a repetitive task. I'll do that. And that's just, that erosion is going to keep on happening. So the only way of you as a company, as an individual, as a team, is to be learning faster than that erosion. And as a leader, as a manager, as a parent, as a student, you've just got to be learning faster than that erosion. And that means that the educational system you choose to, connect yourself to, or as a business, like, do you have a learning engine in your organization that's moving your people forward? Are your leaders being exposed to the bleeding edge of what's really happening so they're coming back fearful enough that they want to change? I think that is the thing. It's a learning crisis. And I think if you feel that learning crisis in your organization, in your private life, you're probably in a good place right now. And I think educational institutions need to really step up because they are light years behind. But organizations, any business itself, has to be a learning institution, has to be a teaching institution. And everybody themselves has to judge those organizations that they work for or with on that basis as well.
And a lot of this, though, Simon, is grand shifts, because you mentioned the fact that it's moving slow. Like if you think about like the education system, I've had clients that are like teachers that were teachers in the 80s when the calculators were omnipresent, and they're like, oh my God, kids are never going to learn math because of calculators. And then the internet came around. Kids are never going to learn because of the internet. And now kids are never going to learn because of AI. And you mentioned it's really just like adapting the way things have been done. It's like the Henry Ford 9-hour, 8-hour days, 5 days a week. Doesn't necessarily, just because it's worked for 100 years doesn't mean it needs to continue to work. So tell us about these in terms of like this idea of adaptation, adapting to the times, when a lot of these large sort of monolithic beings that just don't move that quickly.
Yeah. So just to pull on the Henry Ford thread, Henry Ford also said if you ask customers what they wanted, they'd tell you faster horses. And he invented the car. We are at a moment now where the technology is promising and delivering a shift from faster horses to cars. That requires everyone in their personal lives and in their business mindset to have that same shift in mindset. We are moving from faster horses to cars right now. And it's not going to happen just once. It's not a one-off shift. It's going to happen again. And we have to get used to that. Our organizations have to be agile enough to continue to evolve at the pace of change. So that, I think, is a mindset shift, and we need it at every level, not just at the senior level or the junior level, every single level. And if you expect that when you apply for a job, you should be looking at the person who's hiring you and going, is this person going to teach me mindset shift? Am I going to just drive into a wall with this person or in this organization? Or is this person on track to leapfrog and show me the future and I'll be part of something big? Equally, the institution you go to learn, your school, your college, your business school, same thing.
Wow. And Jerry, obviously you're very passionate about this. You've shifted your title to Chief AI Officer at OSF. And I'm curious, and we haven't talked about this yet, but is AI going to be platform agnostic? Because, Sean mentioned earlier about partnerships. Like, is my AI going to work with your AI? Like, how do you envision like cross collaboration of artificial intelligence between two different organizations? Because right now we kind of all work in this, internet 2.0 era of like, we could just send URLs and everything like that. But how is it going to work with AI and AIs talking to each other? Have you thought that far out when it comes to partnerships with AI?
there are some companies who are really focused on developing the best AI ever and making it kind of like a closed ecosystem and not very open necessarily. But there are other companies like Salesforce that have this concept of being able to bring your own AI to the table and allowing connectivity with other AIs, being able to do like an orchestration of AIs, orchestration of agents, really build an entire ecosystem, because some tasks will be developed by this AI that is within the platform, but then you have some other tasks that are going to perform outside the platform, and really going between the boundaries and across boundaries. This is how Salesforce is seeing this concept. Not everybody is approaching it this way, but I think I strongly believe in this way of seeing the world. Is really an open ecosystem that you can bring your own AI, and you can have your orchestration done well. That's my view on it.
Cool. Simon, I mean, you spent a lot of time at Salesforce. Is Jerry painting the picture correctly in terms of how AI integration is going to happen with Salesforce and partnerships?
I think so. I mean, honestly, I think we will wait and see. It's like organizations like OSF who are kind of at the leading edge helping shape this as well with customers. Ultimately, it's the customer that will define the architecture. But I really like Jerry's point. There will be agents from multiple places. How do you coordinate those to work together is one big challenge. Another big challenge, of course, is the data itself. And another big challenge is going to be aligning the right workforce around this to do what it needs to do to manage it, to check it, and to evolve the system to improve consistently.
And Simon, you know, we hate to make things so didactic and like winners or losers, but you kind of broke down like who's not going to win here, people who are just behind. But what's it going to take for someone to quote unquote win in this new AI workforce? What are some steps that they have to do to make sure that they're successful and get through it on the other side?
Fail quickly. And succeed quickly. So iterate quickly. I think having a leadership team that is hands-on, sleeves rolled up, deeply aware of and engaged in the AI activities as opposed to delegating them down. Break away from this POC mindset where AI is some small little pilot program you run in the corner of your business, and bring it in and get it going and just keep on iterating and communicate well. I think these are some of the things. I think AI is not something you invisibly embed into your organization. You share it openly with your customers, your employees, your suppliers, what you're doing, and you evolve quickly and leverage it and partner. I think, but I think we're in a world now where we need to be a lot of trial and there's going to be a lot of error. So I think that's it. Don't be afraid of it. And there are a lot of organizations who are kind of waiting for it to, I don't know, calm down and all of the innovation to be done and it become less crazy, and then they'll step in where it's safer. And there's a degree, there's always going to be early adopters and fast followers. I think the early adopters have already shot off. I think we're now into a world where you're either a fast follower or you're lunch or breakfast for somebody else.
Very nice. Sean, I want to bring you in here because Jerry mentioned the good that could come of AI, and obviously you're involved in the financial part of things. Some people are wary about AI getting involved in financial services. To me, I'll be honest with you, I have my bank is always telling me, "Hey, do you want to talk to the AI assistant?" I'm like, "No, I just want to check my balance." So tell me about how AI is going to help the consumer when it comes to their banking needs.
Well, I think, and again, talking about another bank that we've been working with, and you talk about how who's going to survive and who's going to thrive, all those things. This bank's made 3 big strategic choices on AI. They've got an AI platform in their digital channel. They've got an AI platform in their voice channel, which is AWS, and they've made a big strategic bet on Salesforce as their agentic layer in their colleague experience. And now they have to drive choreography between each one of those layers to drive the outcome for the customer, which is difficult, right? Because nobody's solved or really resolved that challenge, right? Yet properly, because obviously banks have such a level of complexity and technical debt as well to overcome that a lot of other companies don't have, as well as regulation. But then when you look through it, one of the big things that banks are worried about is about giving the wrong answer from AI to customers, foundationally in recommendations and all those kind of things. But also, if I'm asking a bank for my statement or my settlement fee on my loan, and it makes it, and the AI makes an assumption that I've got an early redemption charge and I haven't, it can give me completely the wrong information. So, I think to what Simon and Jerry said, I think all these things are early stage. I think we're really only at phase 1 of the maturity of AI and agentic at the minute, and we're going to see a huge evolution and coming soon.
Interesting. All right, let's wrap things up. Talk about timelines, Simon, because I think if you asked a scientist in the 1950s, they would say the Earth would be underwater by 2000 or we'd be in flying cars. So it's always hard to predict these things. But and you've kind of mentioned there really is no end game. This is more of a journey. But tell us about timeframes in terms of these AI agents and its prevalency. I mean, is it going to be everywhere in like 1 to 2 years? It's going to be 5 years. You mentioned some companies are going to be at that point sooner than others. But let's talk timeframes now as we wrap things up.
So the World Economic Forum report on jobs said that by 2030, 60% of business leaders felt that business leaders of 60% of companies questioned or whatever they did, felt that AI would be dramatically impacting their business by 2030. There's always that kind of thing, like, people are very over aggressive on what will happen in the short term and under aggressive what will happen in the long term. And the truth is, it's super hard to say. But just look how quickly once ChatGPT hit, how powerful that was as a disruption. But the truth is that it still is taking a long time for that to evolve and become mainstream in the business. Even today, the majority of businesses are only really tinkering with it because they're still trying to figure out exactly where this AI can be used. They're also to Sean's point, very cognizant of the fears of getting it wrong. And right now that's created enough inertia that people are holding off. I think we're going to see more and more people begin to see the use cases that give people confidence to start trying, and you're going to start to see more and more of that happening. And it's going to be industry by industry. Certain industries, certain regulated industries are going to be naturally more cautious. And it's obvious, of course, that we're seeing it happen more in the front office than we are in the back office. There's generally been less attention paid to the back office and more attention paid to the slightly more lucrative front office anyway. So there are a number of ways in which this is likely to unfold in different speeds in different areas. But I think that by 2030, we're going to see AI fundamentally flowing through our organizations, and that our org charts will reflect that. The jobs that are available and that are online being posted for AI, tailoring experts and researchers on data and on people who are just checking AI will vastly outnumber the job losses that will happen probably in the same time. But in the interim, we're going to see a lot of leaders hammering the table saying, I want this. And a lot of people in the middle management saying, I don't see what my life will be post this universe, and who are going to push back. And I think that's going to be a reality for a few years. And it's going to take really strong leadership, really good communication, and really good education to help those people who they're not displaced by their job being eliminated. They're just displaced by their tasks fundamentally having to evolve and their needs to learn increase.
Nice. All right, Sean, time frame on the fintech side. What do you think?
Well, I think it's happening now. There's no doubt about it. How fast it will go in terms of is the question, because obviously the technology is changing super quick. If you look at Salesforce, it launched Agentforce, and then within literally 3 to 4 months, it launched Agentforce 2.0. I mean, I've been with a product team this week, and they're talking about weekly product releases to Agentforce, which shows just how central it is to their strategy and how much engineering resource that they've pivoted from traditional SaaS development into Agentforce. But as Simon said again, I think the other thing is just adding AI into traditional business processes is only going to make a certain amount of impact. It's having the leaders, as we talked about earlier on, and the people who are learning fast enough that that's able to really reimagine the process and the experience, and how AI is going to completely transform that. Is going to be a real measure on how fast this thing goes.
Awesome. And Jerry, I will give you the final word.
Yeah, so I would say two things. If you are kind of in your comfort zone and kind of doing a cozy job, you're in a very dangerous place. Like to what Simon said about the learning crisis, you really have to be in a place where you are learning and you are taking yourself out of the comfort zone and explore new things and fail fast. And then the second thing, if ever again I'm on the phone with a company and they are putting me through these endless loops of 1, 2, 4, 5, whatever, I'm going to be a very upset customers, because now you no longer have this excuse that whatever. Like, I want the things that can be automated, to be done quickly. And when I want to talk to a person, give me that person fast. That's what I want. That is customer experience. And today with AI, you can do it. So do it.
Awesome. All right, Simon, thank you very much for your time joining us today. If folks want to connect with you, Simon, where should they start?
Just ping Jerry and he'll connect us.
Awesome. Great. And Sean, if folks want to find out more about what the work you're doing, though, OSF, where should they look?
I guess the easiest place to look, Joe, is on LinkedIn.
Great. Jerry, that wraps up the Workforce 4.0, a special edition of the Digital Transformation. Thanks so much.
Thank you.